Welcome to County Reports. I'm your host, Philip Marin. Please welcome today's guest, Southeast Town Councilman Dwight Yee. Dwight, how are you today?
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Dwight, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're not from Southeast originally.
No, I was born in the Bronx, lived in Brooklyn, lived on Long Island, and in 1994 moved up here to Putnam County in Southeast or Brewster with my family, and love every minute of it.
Now, I understand you are a retired New York City police lieutenant. What made you decide to get into law enforcement?
Like most people, you're in high school and you take your civil service test and you look for your career. So I had done that during my course of high school and going into college. So after I graduated from college, I had a career in international banking, went up to New York State, up in the Buffalo area for the bank and did that. I did that for about a year until civil service called me and got sworn in as a New York City police officer in 1991. And never looked back since then. I really enjoyed the career.
Now, why did you retire from the police department? You're a relatively young guy.
Most people say that. I did 21 years with the New York City Police Department, had a wonderful career. I've had assignments from the Highway Patrol to Joint Fugitive Task Force, FBI agents, and U.S. Marshals. I had assignments as Special Operations coordinators with the Transit District, and I actually worked with the Police Commissioner, Bill Bratton, when he was Rudy Giuliani's police commissioner. But 9/11 came around. I saw a lot then, and in February of '02 I retired on my 21st anniversary, and since then enjoyed my retired career.
Well, you didn't exactly retire, though. You are involved in a local business here in the village of Brewster. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. Since I retired, I did a year of private security, but my family moved their business from Mount Kisco up into the village of Brewster.
What kind of business is it?
She has a jewelry business. She's actually
who's she?
She's my wife, Jill. Her mom and her sister have a very successful business on Main Street in Brewster, and they design a line of jewelry, and they sell throughout the country and around the world also. But I retired, got involved in their business, and did some of their marketing and advertising, and watched their business grow. And while I was there on Main Street in Brewster, a lot of people would come up to me and say, "Wow, we have a bit of a condition here in the neighborhood. Could you help us out with it?" And
you talk about the deterioration of the village.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of people deny, I think, but
there's a certain section of the village which is beautiful, and there's a certain section that needs some help. And with my wife's business there, people had come up to me, and knowing my background in some government officials, I reached out to local officials and invited them to her business.
Now, you reached out to local officials because you thought that the issues or the ongoing issues weren't being addressed?
Yes, and I wanted to see what the local officials are actually doing about it. So I reached out to them, invited them to the business. I had a congresswoman come over, the sheriff came by, the local mayor came by, and we explained to them what our concerns were, what we were looking for, and how can our business help grow the village of Brewster. And I wanted it to be a hot spot, a business hotspot, to bring in other businesses. So I wanted to reach out to them and the Chamber of Commerce to see what we can do.
Well, it has a lot of potential because of its positioning is rather unique. It's got Connecticut 5 minutes away. It's at the end of 684 and 84 interchange. You got the rail line there. So your concerns were something that weren't a pie in the sky. They were legitimate.
Absolutely.
And goals legitimate.
True. My wife would have business people come up from New York City, take the train route up to Brewster, and we go pick them up in the village and bring them over to the shop. And it's a wonderful community, but things were deteriorating, and we wanted to get involved in it. So I got involved in it, and 2 years ago I got involved in it to a point where I was elected as actually a year ago I was elected as a councilman here in the town of Southeast.
Now, what was it, this experience with dealing with the local officials that prompted you to run for office in the town of Southeast?
Not picking on any local official, but basically there's an expertise that needs to be developed, and an experience that needs to be developed. And coming from New York City and working in a police department, people's jobs and people's concerns are very important to them.
And I think you have a good background because, like everyone knows, New York City is the epitome of a melting pot. There's
absolutely
every culture in the world is represented in New York City.
Absolutely. And so when I watched the changeover, when I worked with the police commissioner and watched his changeover, and no one said crime could change, where you had 2,000 homicides drop down to 600, 400 up to today, and no one, even I said, there's no way you can stop that. But with proper management and proper leadership, it can be done, and to this day, New York City, it's being done. So I wanted to bring my expertise here to the village, and as a councilman, I go to town board meetings, and I try to do my best and bring my experience to the table. And
now, what, if anything, did you learn during the course of your campaign, leading up to the time that you got elected? I'm sure that there was a lot of things going on or things that happened that you didn't realize were involved in becoming a politician.
Absolutely. A lot of personalities involved in politics. I appreciate everyone's love and esteem in trying to help the community, and everyone's personality is different, including mine. But there needs to be a job that needs to get done. And once you lose your focus, and your focus is to help the community, then maybe it is time to move on for other officials to do so. Because when it becomes personal, and there's a personal agenda that they may or may not have, it needs to change, because the community is smarter now and they're wiser. And with the broadcast of some of our town board meetings, I know they're very contentious, and some people and myself say, wow, it's an embarrassment to the town. But you know what?
Wasn't something you expected.
Nothing I expected, but it is quite a bit of an embarrassment. But you know what? The message is getting across.
Now, you know, you said people have agendas or goals. You have agendas and goals. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, you went and campaigned on specific issues.
Right.
You had a vision of what you wanted your term of office to be,
right,
or what changes you wanted to bring to the town of Southeast. Let's talk about a couple of them. Let's say quality of life issues. What did you see was a problem in the town of Southeast that you wanted to address?
Quality of life issues can lead from either noise. I mean, we don't have big city issues up here, you know, constant problems. You know, we have suburban and rural issues here, whether it's loud music going on, or just a bit of a graffiti going on, or kids running around making trouble or knocking garbage cans down. Those are small issues. However, they need to be corrected, and people move up for a better quality of life up here. And you don't want to see those quality of life issues deteriorate when you come up here. So my goal is, the best bang for any community is make sure you have proper law enforcement in these areas. So proper law enforcement would be to enforce the local laws that are here, whether it's speeding, drug use, illegal immigration issue that we may or may not have in this community, and some people disagree with that. And then some people say that's a federal issue. But it all comes down to the local issue. And the local issue is the quality of life. Whether you drive through the village and you see people hanging on the corners, people come to me and say, what do we do about it? And granted, there may or may not be loitering laws on the books. There are issues that can be dealt with. If, you know, there's a group of people standing there and someone's smoking a cigarette and flicks it on the ground, you know what, that's a littering.
Yeah, recently the county has made that a county rule.
Right.
They included cigarettes specifically.
Absolutely, but it doesn't necessarily mean to give the person a summons or anything, but at least some sort of enforcement to those.
No, I remember when I was a kid, we'd go to the village, and we're going to just use that as an example, go to the movies, and if you were hanging out on the street for too long, the first time a police officer came by, the window came down and said, listen, move along.
I hear that story a lot. When I was raised up in the Bronx there, you know, I remember.
It was common.
It was common. I would see the cop. I would walk across the street. You would never, you know, confront them and make an issue of it. But times have changed, though. We're in the year 2008, where law enforcement needs to be enforced properly, and sometimes people don't respect the laws that are here on the books.
Yeah, and there's other things too, talking about laws that aren't respected. Everyone needs to pay taxes and workers' comp and everything else. This is something that's being evaded, I think, largely. And you have some thoughts on that also, what should be done? Absolutely.
Coming from a business point of view, and like I ran my campaign, whether it's illegal immigration or how do you stop certain things from a local issue, verifying employees that employers hire. The federal government has plans for that. You know, employees are supposed to fill out an I-9 form, but a lot of employers don't know what next to do. In other words, the employee will fill out the I-9 form. The employer will then file in a folder, and they've done what they best can do as the employer. But there's an extra additional step to do with this E-Verify program that they have.
Can you explain what E-Verify is for the listeners at home?
Sure. Like I stated, employees have to fill out the I-9 form, give it to the employer. They're supposed to verify some sort of identification for you. The employers now can take an extra step. Instead of just filing it into a form, they can go online to the department's website, then verify those individuals to make sure that their Social Security numbers and other identification,
like a TIN number, tax identification number,
properly match, and they are hiring people from this country who are registered to work and then pay taxes to the community. And that's what people are looking for. Yeah.